Hi all, welcome to today's video, and today I want to talk to you about tips, and really I want to talk to you about the lack thereof on a lot of these orders on these food delivery apps. And it seems to be more prevalent from what I can tell in my market. Might be different in yours, but from what I can tell in my market, I usually get tips on most all of my Uber Eats orders. I normally get tips on all of my GrubHub orders, and normally the orders that are lacking the tips is the DoorDash orders, primarily in my marketplace. Again, this might be different in your marketplace. You might have people that tip better on DoorDash and not on Uber Eats, but from what I've seen and from what I've noticed, it just seems like it's mostly on DoorDash. And I can really tell that because the amount of orders that I decline and the amount of $3 and $4 orders that are just inundated in my app when I'm out there working. I know that there's a lot of people that aren't tipping for DoorDash. I think that this is a platform problem because DoorDash is out there to be the least expensive. And I also believe, and again, this is just my opinion, but I also believe that DoorDash has more drivers than the other platforms. And I believe that they probably have a lower quality of driver on their platform than the other platforms. I really feel that based on what I've seen when I'm out working my marketplace and I run into other DoorDash drivers and other Uber Eats drivers and other GrubHub drivers. I just truly believe that DoorDash will kind of take anyone as long as there's not a blemish on their driving record and a blemish on their criminal record. That again is my own opinion, and it might not be the case in your marketplace. So first thing I want to talk to you about is you may or may not know what the history of tipping is and how tips came about. It used to be in the good old days before there were cars and before there was fast food restaurants, and when people went out to eat, the way the tip came about was they actually tipped their server before they even sat down to eat the dinner or lunch, and the amount they tipped really determined how good a service that they were going to get. So the higher they tipped, the better service that they would get from the server. And this is probably, I'm guessing, in the 1800s is when tipping really started, but it's been around for a very, very long time. And the amount that a person tipped up front was going to determine how good the service was they got from the server that was working for them. I truly believe, and I always give tips when I get into a situation where somebody is working for tips, whether it's out at a restaurant, whether it is I use DoorDash and I use Uber Eats sometimes to order my own food at home, and I always leave, personally, I always try to leave about at least 20% gratuity. That's something that I believe, because I know what it's like to need to rely on tips, because probably almost half of my income from the platforms I work are based on tips. So I know how important tips are to the people that are working in a service type industry, whether it's sitting down at a restaurant and getting a waitress or a waiter, whether it's getting pizza and having the Pizza Hut guy delivered, or whether it be DoorDash or Uber Eats, or I don't have GrubHub in my area, so I haven't been able to tip anyone on GrubHub, but it's my personal belief that I should always leave a tip when a person does a good job. Sometimes when people do a horrible job, I will still leave a tip. I always do. But if they do an absolutely horrible job, I will not leave the tip the same amount of tip as I will for somebody that does a good job. Since you're working in these food deliveries and your income is based on tips too, I'm going to assume that you understand how important the tips are for people that are doing service. So I'm going to assume that you get this and that you probably are tipping pretty good too. There are other people though that are not in the service related industry, and you know they've never been in the service related industry, and they don't believe that food delivery drivers deserve tips. They believe that they should get paid what the platform pays them. Sorry, I'm going over tracks. But they believe that the driver should get paid what the app pays them, and that ought to be all that they expect. And the first thing I'm going to say is you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to change how they feel about tipping, because they don't believe in tipping people, period. That's why on DoorDash especially, that's why on DoorDash you see a lot of orders that are going to pay $3 to drive 7 miles, or I've seen $4 to drive 12 miles, and so on and so forth. It's because the people that are ordering, they actually manually go into the app and they put $0 for the tip, and that's just who they are, and that's just what they're going to do. You know, there's a lot of the times when I'm working in Auburn, the people know that they're only a mile or a mile and a half from the restaurants that they're ordering from, so they probably think, well, it's only a mile and a half. They don't need to get any more money than what the app is paying them. And what they don't understand is, yeah, it might be only a mile and a half, but we're only making $3 on that trip if we accept it. And we're still having to go wait in the drive-through lines, especially right now when some restaurants are still closed and you have to wait 10 minutes in the drive-through line to get the order. And then you have to get out of your car and take it to the people, and you have to work the app when you're out there, and that time adds up. You know, at minimum you're going to spend 15 to 20 minutes on an order, no matter how short it is, because of all the activity that you have to do to go to the restaurant, pick up the order, take it to the customer, to get out of your car and drop it off, and then drive back to that area to get your next order. That all takes time, and even though it's only a mile, it's still going to take you 15 or 20 minutes. So I don't think that a lot of the people really comprehend that, and getting paid $3 to do all that just is not worth it to me, and hopefully not to you, because you're not making a profit if you're doing that. You're not making a profit at all. You're using your time, you're using your gas, you're using the wear down on your vehicle, because every time you drive, that parts that make up your vehicle are breaking down a little bit, so it's adding to that. And you know, $3 isn't going to cover that, plus, you know, put money in your pocket to give you a little bit of cash because you've done your job. So some people just are never going to get it, and some people, again, as I said in my last video, they look down on delivery drivers and don't think they deserve. And you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm kind of going to go back to what I talked about in my last video and a couple of videos before that, and tell you that don't worry about people that aren't tipping on these platforms. And here's why I say that. The bottom line is as I've told you in many of my videos so far, is you have to create a strategy to make the money that you want to make. It's now the afternoon. I'm getting ready to get on and do my evening hustle. And I'm in Auburn tonight, so I'm going to be working DoorDash. But I spent my morning, I spent 4 hours in Fort Wayne this morning getting my hustle on. And I use my strategy as I always do, and this morning was very generous to me because I ended up making about $39 an hour when I was out there, because I picked strategically the orders that I wanted to take, and I did not accept the lowball orders that were not going to get me what I needed. I also multi-apped, as I've talked about. I also did order and pay, which I've talked about. But I used my complete strategy when I was out there this morning so that I could make the money that I wanted to make when I was out there. So, point being is, you're not going to change the mindset or the minds of many of these people that don't believe that we deserve tips. And you know what? To each their own. If they want to believe that, then let them believe it. The caveat to that is, you don't have to take those orders, because you can decline whatever you want when you are working on these platforms. So, you know what? If, 20 drivers decline to take that order because it's too low, and, even if somebody puts it in a hot bag, it's been sitting on the counter at the restaurant for, let's say 20 minutes, a half an hour before it gets put into a hot bag, those people are going to end up getting cold food, and more power to them. Maybe if they would have thrown in $4 or $5 and made it an $8 order for a driver instead of a $3 order, somebody would have jumped on it right away and taken it to them. That's completely on them. So don't worry about the orders that don't get tips, because you are going to not run into it very often if you use the strategy that I have given you. On DoorDash, it's mostly going to be $3 and $4 orders. On GrubHub, it's mostly going to be $6 and $7 orders. And surprisingly, I've actually had a few on Uber Eats where I got paid what I thought was a very generous amount. I got paid, let's say $11 to go 4 miles, or, I got $15 to drive 7 miles. And after I completed it, I was actually surprised, because that was all in DoorDash, or I'm sorry, that was all in Uber Eats money. That was 0 tips. So, simply go out there and use your strategy and look at the overall dollar amount. If the overall dollar amount looks good, and the miles look good, and the restaurant is going to take care of you when you go there, and the drop-off is going to drop you into one of those hot spots that you have, or close to it, then by all means take it. If somebody doesn't leave you a tip and you still make the money you want, be happy about it. Be happy that you made the money that you did, but don't worry about and don't harp on whether somebody's leaving a tip on or not. Many of the orders that come through, you can tell right away if there's a tip on it or not, based on how much it is, and that's the bottom line. So every once in a while you're going to get one that doesn't tip you, but that's okay. If you're still making the money that you want to make, and you're still putting together your strategy that's going to get you the overall compensation that you want, it's really irrelevant. So my final thought on this is, just come up with your strategy and use your strategy. And kind of like I said in one of my last videos, don't worry about that other bullshit, and don't focus on the negative things on it. Focus on what you want, your goals, your metrics, the dollars, the miles, and focus on what you can control. And if you do that, then you're going to be happy with the outcome, because you're making the money that you want. If you don't, then you're not. You need to change your strategy. So let that be the most thought that you put into it, and don't get into the thoughts and people should think this and people should think that. You're not going to change their mind. So anyway, I hope that you really found today's topic really helpful. I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel so that you can get more great content as it comes out. I currently am putting out videos on Tuesdays and Fridays at noon. That's in America Eastern Standard Time. So whatever time that is in your time zone, you're going to have to figure it out. But I always put them out the same days and the same times consistently so that you guys can get it when you expect it. Please like my videos so I can get my videos in front of more people. And also, please, if you know anyone that can use this advice to help get them to that $25 to $30 an hour, don't hesitate to share it with them. If you're out dashing and you run into somebody, or if you're out doing Uber Eats and you run into somebody and they're like, hey man, I'm not making a lot of money. Hey, I know this guy on YouTube that puts together some great insight and some great topics. Go check him out. I really, really would appreciate it. So anyway, I hope you're out there making the money that you deserve. And with that, I'll see you in my next video. Thanks.